What's up, Ferrall fans? Mafia filling in for Scott once again as he enjoys his time off in the sun, talking about things going on in the world of sports. And, of course, the big thing going on right now is the NBA today. And then before the show, when I was thinking about what to talk about, it was all going to be about the deadline, emphasis on dead, of course. But then as things went on, the night progressed, and the games happened, new topics popped up in my head. So we're going to change it and amend it. It's become Deadline and Deadhead. First off, with the NBA trading deadline, once again, for another year, nothing really happens. Of course, we had the big DeMarcus Cousins trade right after the All-Star game on Sunday night. But then as the week progressed, not much happened after that. You had the Williams deal from the Lakers to Houston once Magic took over. Nice piece added by them. Okay, then they did some other moves today to clear cap space pretty much. That's it. Oklahoma City traded and brought in Taj Gibson and Doug McDermott, but really that's not going to help you win a championship. Some decent pieces, but Gibson's done after this year. McDermott hasn't really panned out as far as an NBA player. He's got a decent shot, but not really making a huge impact. Not anything that's going to help them challenge in the West by any means. Then, of course, Philadelphia traded they traded Ilyasova yesterday, and then today they traded Noel. Clear up some of their big man mess down there because they had too many bodies, but really don't get much back for Noel. For a guy who was a big prospect, really get very few pieces, including a guy in Andrew Bogut who they're probably going to waive. Get another pick or two, but once again, Philadelphia kind of giving you a head scratcher, and they don't move Okafor, the guy that everybody was talking about them moving. The guy that's been talked about for months as being the odd man out and the one they're going to get rid of, they keep him. Now, some people are saying this because of the contract situation with Noel, that he's going to be a restricted free agent, so he's going to be owed money. They don't want to deal with that, so that's why they got rid of him, and people knew they wanted rid of him, so they gave him less. But it is what it is. Still not a great deal by Philadelphia. But to me, the bigger issue with the deadline was, once again, deals that weren't made. That it was pretty much dead. Because nobody was jumping up and down about Taj Gibson or Doug McDermott or Nerlens Noel getting traded. Everyone was expecting something bigger. Everyone was hoping for someone bigger. Everyone was hoping for Jimmy Butler and Paul George, like we talked about yesterday. And Boston was a big destination for either one. Of course, people were talking about Melo for months. We knew that wasn't happening. He had the no trade, said he wasn't waiving it. People were talking about things getting broken up in LA and Clipperland because of guys coming up with contracts at the end of the year. Maybe try to get some pieces for him because the injuries were going to hold them out from really being contenders. But now everybody's healthy. Blake's been back. Chris Paul got cleared. Didn't play tonight, but he'll be back in the lineup soon. Going to get back into the form that people thought they were as a championship contender through much of the early part of the season, so they didn't make any moves. They thought they were good. There was talk about them maybe getting Courtney Lee from the Knicks or some other small pieces to be complimentary, but they had their main core, and they were keeping it and weren't changing it. So the only ones that were really going to be on the move probably were, of course, Butler and George. And the big thing with that is, I don't get why neither of them were moved. Was it just that they're being asked, too much for them? I mean, of course, the whole thing with Paul George is his agent allegedly told teams that he wasn't guaranteeing that he was going to re-sign with them unless it was being a trade to the Lakers, which is a complete contradiction to everything he said last week. I mean, he talked about how it's not about the money and he wants to go with a team that he's going to win on, and then the only team he's going to sign an extension with is the Lakers, one of the worst teams in the NBA. Yes, I know you grew up out there. I know you idolize Kobe. I know you love Magic. But if you're going to talk about how you want to win, how winning is more important to you than money, then don't tell every other team in the NBA that the Lakers are the only team you're going to guarantee to re-sign with. I'm disappointed in Danny Ainge that once again he does not pull a trigger. All we've heard about year after year after year after year is all these pieces that Boston has to offer. All these picks, all these young players, and they never pull a trigger. I know Ainge is a guy that likes to be the clear-cut winner in a trade. He likes to be the man that everyone points to and says, wow, you did an incredible job. But sometimes you have to take a risk, and I think trading for Paul George would have been an acceptable risk. Even if he doesn't resign. I mean, you have him for at least a year and a half. Yes, you have some great first-round picks, but who knows if they're going to pan out. This guy is a proven badass and would have made you a championship contender in the East. Without him, you're not. You're a nice team. You're a strong team. You're on the same level as the Wizards. You got some good young players. You're strong. You're tough. You're physical. You don't back down from everybody, but you're not a contender without another star. Isaiah can't do it by himself. Horford hasn't been the huge influence that you expected when you signed him. He's been a great player, but he isn't dominating anybody. Crowder's a nice piece, not enough for a championship team. You needed another guy. I thought Paul George was the guy to get. Maybe they weren't really serious about trading him. Maybe they're going to wait till the offseason to do it. But unless we hear otherwise, once again, Danny Ainge does not pull the trigger. And I think he should have. Add that piece. Be a contender. That happens with a lot of teams. Most teams didn't do anything, which they all either think they're contenders already, which unless you play in Golden State or San Antonio or Cleveland, you were wrong. Or they all decided, you know what, we're not going to contend. We don't have the pieces. One or two guys isn't going to do the trick. Let's just sit back, keep what we have, and let things play out and then try to rebuild in the offseason, which isn't good for the NBA. That says a lot about the NBA if you're no longer getting these big trades because everyone realizes it's Cleveland and Golden State and maybe San Antonio, and the rest of us are just peasants waiting to crown the king. I mean, it's ridiculous. There's got to be more competitive balance and more teams in it that think they have a chance so you get more moves, because otherwise the deadline is nothing, it's boring, and it's pathetic, and someone should have made a move and it was just awful. Now moving on to the deadhead part of the segment. Once again, Draymond Green. I can't understand it. I don't get it. It's one thing to be fiery, it's one thing to be ultra competitive, it's another thing to be stupid, which is what he is so many times. And this guy is an incredible player. I love this guy on the floor. When he's not getting into trouble, he's a great player. And he makes an impact all over the court. I mean, this is a guy who can obviously score. He's had some big monster games scoring-wise, despite the guys on his team that score at will. You know, he still can sometimes, every now and then, go off and be a huge part of the offense. But when he's not, because you have Curry and Thompson and KD, he's a great impact player on the other side of the ball too. I mean, this is a guy who got a triple-double this year without double digits in points. No one's ever done that before. He had 4 points and had a triple-double because he had 10 rebounds. He had over 10 rebounds, over 10 blocks, over 10 assists. He's a great passer for a big man, plays great defense, can shut guys down, and grabs balls off the boards and sends the offense going in great transition, breaks. Huge point for this team. But he cannot get out of his own way. We saw it last year in the NBA Finals where he gets suspended for a game, and everyone talks about how that turned the series around, and that's the reason they lost. Don't give me that. They lost 3 games. He was suspended for 1. Doesn't count. I mean, it counts. It helped the Cavs start to turn things around, but he was still there for 2 of the 3 games. Stop making it sound like just because he wasn't there, that was the end of the series. LeBron still worked his ass off and took that team back. That being said, he's a great player, impact performer, has such a big part in every game that the Golden State Warriors play. I mean, you look at all these games, like tonight against the Clippers. They're down. They're kind of getting pushed around a little bit on their home court. And then you get a guy like that who turns it around with impact plays, with defensive stops, with transition buckets, with blocks, things like that. It gets things going. He's a huge part of them. But he can't get out of his own way mentally. We've seen time and time again him tripping guys, him putting his foot up and kicking guys as he's taking shots that he claims, that's not intentional, just the way I shoot. No one shoots that way. Well, tonight, he practically throws an MMA up kick on Blake Griffin. He's on the floor fighting for a loose ball. On his back, Blake Griffin reaches down to try to get it, and he up kicks him. Don't give me that wasn't intentional, or it just happened. Even if it wasn't intentional, you have to control your foot better than that. That was so blatantly a kick. It was awful. I'm surprised he can get kicked out of the game for that. And I wouldn't be surprised if the league suspends him. Because then not only does that happen, later on, as he's going up the court on offense, gets tangled up in the middle of the paint there, goes to the ground, refs call a foul on him. And he freaks. Nearly runs the ref down. I mean, if it wasn't for KD grabbing him and pulling him back, I wouldn't have been surprised if he made contact with the ref and was tossed out of the game and suspended automatically. As it is, he's berating the ref, gets pulled off the court, starts screaming at Kerr. Pretty much kept out of the game the rest of the way for the most part. I mean, he didn't play major minutes after that, if any. So, this guy's just out of control once again. And when the NBA reviews the tape, it wouldn't surprise me if he gets suspended because he just keeps doing these stupid things and keeps costing his team. It didn't cost him the game because they blew out the Clippers in the fourth quarter there and just took it over, won by double digits. But if you get into a tight playoff series, that could turn the game. Or if you get into a tight playoff series, was once again he's suspended, and now you're left with just Zaza Pachulia and McGee in the front court, that can cost them a game, if not a series. So Draymond Green, once again, has to get his head on straight. I don't know who it is that's got to reach out to him, but someone's got to take him aside and say, dude, what are you doing? The problem is I don't think he listens to anybody. He obviously has never listened to Curry or Thompson or Kerr, who have been there on the team. He's been teammates with Durant for less than a year. I don't know if he's going to listen to him. But there's got to be someone that can get through this guy, because such an incredible player, but does such stupid, immature, and short-sighted things. So I love Draymond Green as a player, but someone's got to get through to him as a person, because he just acts stupid way too many times. It's like if Grayson Allen fast-forwarded 5-6 years and never grew up. It's just ridiculous. Someone has got to get through to this guy by now, because it's going to cost them otherwise. So the deadline was boring. The big players weren't moved. Too many teams were scared to make the big trade, to make the big push, to try to get there and actually compete for the title. And it was anticlimactic and sucked once again. And Draymond Green's got to get his head on straight. That's basically Thursday in a nutshell. So we'll talk to you guys tomorrow about everything going on in the world of sports once again, and whatever happens on Friday, whether it be NBA, college, NFL. We'll break it down for you here on Ferrall on the Bench.